Yo, what's good with everybody? Welcome back to the Gifted Hoops podcast. It's been a while, okay? We don't have any more regular season. We're now officially in the off season. I'm joined here by Bsolz to break down the Boston Celtics. Bsolz, say what's up to the people, man.
What's good? What's good? Welcome to be back. We're happy to be back. Excuse me. I'm good, man.
As you can see, camera looking real crisp. A lot of green in the air. You know what I'm saying? I see it.
With the Kobe beanie is crazy, though, I will say.
With the Kobe beanie, the team that wants to get Jayson Tatum. You know.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I first got to say, I want to do this live on camera here. Hopefully I don't trip. All hail to the championship Boston Celtics. All hail. All hail, Bsolz. All hail to the championship Boston Celtics. I'm going to get clipped out of context, and that's fine. All hail to the Boston Celtics. Bsolz.
Yeah.
How does it feel after everything you went through? These Eastern Conference Finals appearances, the Marcus Smart game winner that almost was, but turned into a Derek White putback in Game 6, going down 3-0, coming back Game 7, Tatum gets hurt. How does it feel to finally have a NBA championship since the Doc Rivers era?
Feels great, man. It feels great because I don't know if you know my story, but I got introduced to basketball 2010 specifically. Is the year I came to America. So we came to Massachusetts. So I'm rooting for the home team, right? Everyone's saying Celtics, Lakers, this is the greatest rivalry in the sport. So my introduction to the sport was the Celtics losing in the finals in Game 7. The last time they won a championship, I didn't it was just a myth to me. Everyone was just, back in 08, we had like a crazy team. KG's injured now. They're not the same. So I never even experienced like the prime 08 Celtics. So, been loyal to the team this whole time. Rewarded a championship. It feels good, man. Went to the parade. This is the best season of I told you so's I've ever had. Feels good, man. Got a lot of I told you so's off this year.
I feel sick because the amount of I told you so's are crazy. You did say if we win a title, I'm going to lose my shit, and you did. I mean, there are so many agenda takes you can get off that you might not even genuinely believe, but because you won a title, you can actually get it off. So gotta respect it. And again, shout out to the Boston Celtics. The number one thing I want to leave with before we start any conversation is where we started off from last year, right? Obviously, with the way that the season had ended, changes had to be made. First off, as we spoke about it, the Marcus Smart trade was huge for you to trade such an integral piece of your core to then get Porzingis, who, good movement shooter. And for Tatum, Brown, and Marcus Smart to lead the team in threes, and then you add in Porzingis instead, it just changes the whole dynamic of the floor. But then to get Drew Holiday, I mean, I didn't see that coming. Walk me through your reaction seeing Drew Holiday join your team when you were just asking questions about, oh, no more Marcus Smart.
Yeah, Drew Holiday was big because I already thought, because I don't know if you remember how the events went, but the Porzingis trade was supposed to be with Malcolm Brogdon first. You remember that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And then they pulled it back because of medical issues, so they had to trade Marcus Smart to complete the deal because it was too far in the talk. So they completed that. So after the day after, everyone was like, they're just gonna keep Malcolm Brogdon. There wouldn't be any problems. But if I'm Malcolm Brogdon, they just tried to trade me. I don't want to be here. Exactly. So that whole dynamic of Malcolm Brogdon's just gonna replace Marcus Smart, that was not gonna be the thing. Derek White was there the whole time. He's obviously been an integral part of the team. But the fact that we was able to get rid of unhappy Malcolm Brogdon as well and bring in Drew Holiday and not lose, that point of attack. Essentially, we got 2 point of attack defenders. But, I think a big thing with this team is playmaking outside of Jayson Tatum and Jaylen Brown. And shout out to, Derek White. He definitely improved this past season. But having a championship caliber point guard on the team that's a defensive juggernaut, that's valuable. That's extremely valuable. A guy that can play his role too, doesn't need the ball in his hands to be effective. The whole thing about Drew Holiday being a corner 3 specialist, that was pretty big this whole season.
He was great in the corner this year, man. It was ridiculous. Above 50% in the corners is wild for any NBA player, especially on volume. So, Yeah, no, that was very impressive. I want to tell you right now, when Drew got traded, I lost my shit because it's like, this is everything Boston needed. Like, how do you go from not having a point guard where I thought, okay, Tyus Jones might be the guy that they get to, fill that role. And instead you upgrade with another all-star caliber guard in Jrue Holiday, which, yes, he had his flaws in the postseason, but I kept trying to tell people that was because he had an elevated role on the Bucks. Yeah. This Boston team fully fit Joe's, identity in terms of what he wants to do as a coach. But now you have so many ball handlers, so many overall decision makers. It just raised the ceiling of the team. So that's why I said, listen, guys, I know Dame got traded to the Bucks because a lot of people forget this now. But remember, when Dame got traded to the Bucks, that was the team. A lot of people question if the Celtics could still beat them because Dame Giannis pick and roll.
Yeah. A lot of people did. A lot of people that we know. They don't want to admit it now, though. It's cool, though. It's cool. I always
just want to act like it didn't happen.
I'm saying, bro. God. I always saw the vision, man. It was always the Celtics. All right, buddy. God.
Bro, the amount of time, Souls, I would be like, okay, so listen, I understand it's Dame and Giannis, but can you name the third best defender on this team now? Brook Lopez? Like what else is there? They'd be like, Dame Giannis pick and roll. But Dame and Giannis haven't really played together. Yeah, but Dame is this, Giannis this, Dame Giannis pick and roll. Okay, who's the wing on this team that's actually going to be healthy on the Dame Giannis pick and roll? And then the entire season unfolds the way it does. They fire their head coach. And then meanwhile, you guys are just steaming, like literally torching the entire Eastern Conference. 14 games, Souls. 14 games better than the second seed.
Yeah. I honestly, by the end of the season, this is going to sound cocky as hell, but winning 64 I felt like we should have won more. Like, if we weren't load managing, because we were load managing the last month of the season pretty hard, but if we weren't doing that, I was honestly expecting 68, 69 wins, to be honest with you. Now, in hindsight, they definitely did the right thing, load managing the guys for the playoffs, because I do think them being as fresh as they were in the finals was a factor, especially compared to the Mavs, and them winning it all. So, screw winning 68, 69 games. It's all about the playoffs with this team anyways. But yeah, nah. The East is here. It was looking like a one-man race. Or one-team race, man.
It was just so fun to watch this team really grow. Because, again, Tatum once again took the playmaking leap with the overall rebounding and whatnot. But the real star that I have to highlight is Jaylen Brown. Now, listen, in our last podcast, we literally did it the day after the $300 million thing was there. Oh,
yeah.
Right? And I got to be honest, right? I like to stand on business as a content creator, and I still kind of believe this. Jaylen Brown making that much money to me was like, how are they going to upgrade the roster, especially if they're lacking POA? But when you add Jrue Holiday to the mix, everything is clean, and now you have Tatum and Brown as your pillars, as your core. And he did what I thought he was capable of doing, right? He got back to the defensive identity. Yeah. This is a far better defensive year from him than I've seen in the last 2 years. And I mean, the shit he was doing in the playoffs, again, the Eastern Conference Finals MVP and the Finals MVP, a lot of that for him was tied towards his value on the defensive end. It didn't start out too hot, but post All-Star break, he became like your best point of attack on the team, including Derek White. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, no, hey, I'm gonna stand on business. I was also very big on hey, shout out Jaylen Brown, but I would rather have financial flexibility and trade Jaylen Brown. But yeah, he proved me wrong. He proved me wrong this season. And maybe it is winning bias, but I feel like the beauty of the season, because every single team in the league that hasn't won a championship, the biggest question for every single team is, are you building around the right dudes? Right? That's the question. And the Celtics winning a championship this season, that was answered, right? All the questions about, is Jaylen Brown worth the Supermax? Is Jayson Tatum worth the Supermax? Is the combo these two guys? That was answered with a championship this season. So, yeah, him being a much better off-ball player as well, picking up the slack defensively compared to the season prior, working on his left hand finishing with his left hand. I know that was a big meme last season that I also played into. You know, it's just these are guys that, you know, every single year haven't got over the hump, but they learn from their mistakes. You know, and it was just a matter of time until they got to the mountaintop. Now, were injuries a part of that? Yes, but hey, play who's in front of you. So,
you know what? I'm happy you brought that up because I had this there, right? So, what frustrates me, right, is that NBA Twitter as a whole, right? They mentioned the amount of injuries that the Celtics had in the Eastern Conference, right? My problem is, can we be serious? Can we stop lying? You're telling me the team that was the best team in the Eastern Conference during the regular season, and to me, it wasn't close. By like a far margin, it was them. I feel like regardless of health, personally, I think they would have beat every team regardless. I think the real test for them came in the finals, and they dominated that as well. I feel like people were looking at this Boston team in terms of the, you know, everything that they saw beforehand. And this is a Boston team where for the majority of your postseason run, you didn't have Porzingis and you still dominated the teams that were present in front of you. So to me, I'm not going to injury tax. I just think the Eastern Conference doesn't have as much overall talent as the West, but you don't control the conference you're in. That's my personal opinion.
Yeah, listen, we can play the injury game every single season too. Like I understand this year compared to other years may be more drastic than other years, but if we want to play the asterisk card every single year, we can do that. But specifically this season, Lo asked me this when I was in his space, in his room. He was like, Bsolz, how do you feel about this? And I said, yeah, I ain't gonna lie, it is an injury riddled path. If you want to call it Mickey, it's cool. But going into the season, the marker for success with this team wasn't even a finals appearance in the first place. So I'm not going to gas up a finals appearance regardless of who we face. If we don't get the job done in the finals, then it truly doesn't matter with the amount of money we're paying, the expectations on this team, the pressure, all of that. So, and all y'all told me, hey, this East shit is fine, but whoever's coming out the West is busting y'all ass. And we faced who came out the West. You know, Luka was injured going into the finals, and y'all still had those takes, and we busted the Dallas Mavericks' ass, bro. So, you know, it is what it is. It is what it is, man.
I love to see Bsolz popping this shit because that's what it was, right? Like, a lot of people try to have it both ways, right? You can say, okay, this Celtics team is overpowered. They're cheating. This isn't fair. Like, how is this doable? And then say, oh, well, they didn't play nobody. Well, if this team is an unbeatable team and you think it's not fair that Jayson Tatum has this much help and a great cast around him, then doesn't that lead to them just being the better team overall? Yeah. That's what I think, at least, right? In the finals, I do think it was a fair point to say that the Dallas Mavericks coming into it were more battle-tested in terms of the teams they had to play. But what people underestimated was the Celtics have overall more experience than that Dallas team. They have more guys who have been through deeper runs in the postseason. Maybe not the finals, but they had gone through so much of that in Jayson Tatum, Jaylen Brown, and even Jrue Holiday, who won his own title on a completely different team. So to me, that experience came together. But the way you guys moved the ball and really had the identity on defense, I mean, dude, the Jaylen Brown blocks in the finals, like that is what I said for this Boston team had to be their identity. These two-way wings who can do everything. And Tatum wasn't great offensively in the finals, which, you know, we're going to get to. But independent of that, he was good. Yeah. I think he was good.
Yeah, he was good. He wasn't great, obviously. It wasn't anything to brag about. Obviously not a finals. Well, you can still argue finals MVP, to be honest with you. But yeah, he wasn't great. But he did what he needed to do. And like I said earlier, bro, the biggest question is, are you building around the right dudes? And that's all he proved this season. If we want to get into the individual stuff moving forward, you know, maybe that's a bigger conversation. But my biggest question has always been, are we building around the right dudes? And that's all that really matters, man. When I went to the parade, no one was really bawling their eyes off just because, you know, Jayson Tatum isn't top 10 in the league. You know what I'm saying? Like, nah, when Jaylen Brown, you know, was on a boat, everyone was going crazy. When Jayson Tatum crossed by, we was equally going crazy. So, I don't know, bro. The whole top 5 thing is I ain't gonna lie, a Twitter conversation, which is fine because Twitter loves rankings and, you know, who's overrated, who's underrated, and that's fine. But honestly, that doesn't bother me at this point. Now, people might view that as cope, but it is what it is.
Cope? Like guys, they won a title. Their cope is the championship, right? Like I don't like. I feel like people love doing rankings so much because it's fun to put X player against X player. Regardless, what the Celtics showed you is roster construction is what matters. We do this shit all the time where top 5 player, you got to have this, you got to have that. But when you have a complete roster of guys that sacrifice, like Drew Holiday sacrificed a lot for this team, right? Kristaps Porzingis was playing through injury in the finals, right? They had a lot of sacrifice throughout their roster, and they were able to win because they were a better balanced team. That's why when it comes down to trying to project how the future goes, you're in good shape. Because not only do you have good, high character guys, but Bsolz, y'all got money because y'all paid everybody.
Yeah. Literally
everybody got paid. Bro.
Even Sam
y'all
Hauser.
paid Sam Hauser.
Where'd this money come from? What the hell?
Like, I think that's wild. So like, I want to know for you, what does it feel like to know that your team not only won a title, but they're not going to be missing any core piece from the title run? They have all the pieces back in store to re-up for next year.
I'm gonna give them the benefit of the doubt because they won. You know, they believe that this is a core that works. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. However, I do also come from the standpoint of, like, stagnancy is never a good thing. You know what I'm saying? So, are they going to be stagnant moving forward? Not necessarily, because they do got, like, Jordan Walsh coming in as well. Maybe Peyton. Like, there's still, like, internal development that could happen with this team. Yeah. But I do think in today's NBA, like, continuity is becoming a bigger and bigger factor as to team success. You know what I'm saying? Like, for teams to just essentially do things in a short amount of time, sometimes it works, but a majority of the time, the most consistent winners in the league, you look at the Denver Nuggets, you look at the Celtics, you look at the Warriors, even the Bucks to a certain degree. Like, we're talking about teams that have been together for a minute now, develops a certain style of chemistry, and then just got over the hump at some point. So now that, you know, we got everybody locked in for, I would say at the very least the next 2 years, it's just good that, like, there's a clear direction. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the beauty about this. All of this is that there's a clear direction. There was a point not too long ago where should we rebuilding and, you know, not trying to win as much right now, or, you know, should we go all in? I'm specifically talking about the 2019 Celtics. Like, they tried to do this, like, they tried to do this like in between thing of, okay, we got Kyrie, Hayward, and Horford, so we can win now. But then in the future, we're also set up because you got Jaylen Brown and Jayson. Like, you got Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, pick a direction, bro. So I just like the fact that for the next 2 to 3 years, we are in win now mode, and that's the focus. That's the focus.
I just want to say this is hilarious because me being a Warriors fan, it just screams 2 timelines where, oh yeah, we have Jordan Poole and Andrew Wiggins, and we have and now it's Jordan Poole's in DC. Andrew Wiggins is one of the worst contracts in the league, and I'm praying for a Lauri Markkanen to trade. That's kind of where I'm at right now, you know?
Yeah, no, the Warriors are in a pretty similar situation, man. Y'all low-key got another shot with, like, B-Pods and Kuminga raising their stock over this last season to maybe, you know, double down on the win now side of things, but
and Danny Ainge wants all of that, sadly. Yeah. But that's fine. That's fine. Enough about my 500-ish team. Let's get to the other part that I want to ask you. Now, this is an NBA question, but this is very tied to your team, right? I need to know if I'm tripping, because coming into the season, again, I like to keep receipts on everything people say, including myself. You know, that's a part of being a content creator. People said coming in, the Denver Nuggets were the most dominant team last year during the regular season, and they were calling the Denver Nuggets a dynasty team, right? Mm-hmm. They lose in a 7-game series this year. You guys win. Now a lot of people are saying you guys are the dynasty team. What do you think is more real? And more importantly, do you think a dynasty can even thrive with the new CBA, with the cap stuff and all that? Do you think Boston has what it takes to actually carry out what Denver could not do?
I'm going to be completely honest with you. As much as I want them to, I'm a root.
Okay.
I don't think the Celtics got a dynasty in them, just because I am like a true believer of like, yo, the last 6 years we've had a completely different champion in the league. So unless they prove me otherwise, nah, you're not the exception to the rule. I'm sorry. Like that, okay. I guess that's where like the injury conversation plays into it. Like the East was injured last season. Other teams are getting better as well. And I've always maintained the fact that as great as the Celtics looked last season, they were still beatable. You know, the conversation about them being a super team, the whole season, I never said they were a super team, because I truly do think, as talented as they are, this is a flawed team. And if there is one team that they didn't really face throughout these playoffs that I really feel like would have gave them trouble, was a team with a crazy dominant paint presence. Like, Luka is great in the paint from a perimeter perspective, but I'm talking about the Embiids, the Giannis's, you know, the Anthony Davises, the Jokic. Like, they never ran into a big like that. And that's why, like, early in the season, when we had the conversations about Porzingis versus the like the Celtics versus the Bucks conversations, that's why everyone was so high on the Bucks, was because, yeah, Porzingis is cool. You know, Jayson Tatum at the 4 is cool. You still got Al Horford. But yeah, Giannis is gonna drop 35 on y'all like he did last time. You know what I'm saying? So, in terms of the future, bro, yeah, nah. I as much as I want them to be a dynasty, I don't think this is a dynasty. In terms of the CBA too, I do have this interesting theory though, because everyone's saying because of I'm listening. Because of the second apron, right? That teams are gonna hold back. They're not willing to re-sign their players as much because they want to be under the second tax apron. But we are low-key seeing with the Celtics that, like, they're not being scary. Like, they're just paying everyone, right? So my theory is even though the CBA technically is set up to avoid, like, you know, stacked teams staying stacked.
Yeah.
If there is one team or two or however many there is that isn't afraid of going to the second tax apron, wouldn't that give them like a not necessarily unfair advantage because everyone's playing the same field, but like they're not playing scary while the rest of the league is. So now like the disparity is crazy. I don't know. Maybe that's the edge that the Celtics have compared to the Nuggets, because the Nuggets, you know, they've lost Bruce Brown after their championship year. They just lost KCP, and that is a big part of this, you know, the second tax apron, or the reason why they lost those players is because of the second tax apron. But yeah, the Celtics not doing that and keeping everyone together, that's going to be interesting how that folds out.
Yeah, I would say that you're spot on with the apron stuff. I do feel like teams that can go over and pay into that tax are going to have an advantage. But to me, the advantage is the fact that they want to win. Let's just be honest, right? If you broke, just say that. Right? If you're trying to win a championship, you got to pay your players, right? The reason why the Golden State Warriors are in cap hell is because they paid their players, right? Boston Celtics pay their players. The Los Angeles Flippers pay their players, right? Like, these are things that you have to consistently do. And I feel like while you might have an advantage there, the cold reality is you can wind up being a team like the Suns, where you sign a trade for Bradley Beal, who's making $50+ million with a no trade clause. You can't really trade him, and you're kind of stuck with the roster you are. I think the genius of it, right, is when you get into that second apron, you are stuck with your team. So you better be very confident that team can stay healthy and win a championship. To me, that's what makes it kind of fair, because you cannot predict how every season will go. But good teams normally are going to pay the tax. It just is what it is.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting, because having a core together for a long period of time, especially when the rules are essentially made to break teams apart and not have that longevity, that continuity, that may be the edge that would give the Celtics like a dynastic opportunity. But I still think if I'm betting on it, I ain't gonna lie. Even this last season, you know, if the Nuggets don't get eliminated and we face them in the finals, you know, I don't even think...
I want that series so bad. You don't understand. I want that series so badly. I do want to say this, like, no. You definitely did not. But, but I do got to be honest, right? Denver, to me, the reason why people lean dynasty is because Jokic is the best player. At least you know, in my opinion, I think he's the best player in the league, right? And I think because of how good they looked last year, they felt as if the size mismatch he would have against every other team would be enough. I said coming in, this is true for Denver, but at the same time, if you evaluate their real depth in terms of having a ball handler, in terms of having elite shooters not named Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr., it gets kind of choppy after that, right? So for me, they ran into the worst matchup where the Wolves are a team that's literally constructed to bang with them in terms of having two bigs, having size all over the place, right? And if Michael Porter Jr. can't take that leap or whatever, it really hurts their flexibility. So then losing KCP to the Eastern Conference, by the way, to the Magic, is what hurts them from really being a serious team in my mind. Obviously, Jokic is going to do great things, but the roster around him to me just isn't equivalent. On your end, you got all the same players, and the crazy part is you didn't even get a full postseason from Porzingis. Like, just imagine this fully healthy Celtics team all the way through. That makes me feel confident in picking them to win again, even though every East team got better.
Yeah, that is another thing I'm looking at with the Celtics is even though they look dominant, I still think there was a level that they can go up, like, which is crazy. Because like what you just said, pretty much went the whole playoffs without Porzingis when he came back. Like, crazy game one, but got injured for the rest of the series, wasn't 100%. And even JT and JB, maybe this is, you know, like having false faith in them or whatever, but I don't think Jayson Tatum is gonna shoot as bad next season in the playoffs, dog. I don't know. I understand the sample size is there, but bro, I just feel like he can just give me one playoff run, bro, of like 30 points, you know, 10 rebounds, 5 assists, 48, 37, 84.
48,
bro.
37.
Like,
yeah.
That's all I need, bro. That's all I need. You know, so if we were able to do this with like JT having a scoring slump, if any one of these playoff runs he doesn't have a scoring slump, it's gonna go crazy.
I think that's the most frustrating part about Tatum that I still did not get a clear answer on, because I think every year he finds ways to improve and get better, right? The shooting can be so bad with him at times that people completely forget about his other value, but defensively, Tatum took the lob threat away from Dallas. The reason why Dallas looks so dominant is Luka Doncic will put every POA guy in jail, right? So now they're on his hip, and now Gobert's in the paint. Now he has to play a 2-on-1. Y'all said, no, we're just going to fight through. Tatum is going to pre-switch. He's going to be on the bigs, and he's going to cut that off. And Jaylen Brown has the strength and the quickness to actually keep up better. So to me, that was the versatility as to why you guys were able to win. But with Tatum's versatility, it's like, dog, if he could just get to those numbers you're talking about, that is the top 5 player that people say he's not. Because he's shown you moments where he can take over games and do that. When you guys went down 3-0, in the rest of those 3 games, Tatum was playing very well. So I think it's in him to really achieve that. But I do think in terms of being like a real dynasty, those players getting better to that level is what'll get you there, I think.
Yeah, it's weird because I was really, because there's been a lot made about Jayson Tatum's shot selection, but I'm looking at his shot selection. Unless you just don't want him to take threes at all, which I don't think is the plan. Like, he still needs to take threes, and a part of like Joe Mazzulla's like offensive principle is like, yo, keep the defense honest. Like, it doesn't matter, like, you know, how bad you're shooting. Take the smart shot when it's there. Keep the defense honest and play within rhythm. Like, I was looking at a shot selection, I'm like, I don't really have a problem with it. Like, he's not taking, like, yes, he can take a side step 3 here and there. You know, he's taking pull-up middies, but it wasn't like egregious. So all of that to say, and I understand this sounds basic as hell, but if he can just like make more shots, like
just make more shots.
Yeah. His shot selection ain't like even like attacking the rim. Because I will say this, because Double D brought up in 2022, I really hated the fact that when Jayson Tatum went to the rim, he would just foul bait. Like, and bad too. Like, he would drive to the rim, and like he wouldn't finish strong. He would just try to get the contact and just flail.
Exactly. Yeah.
So like that type of, like, he's been much better at that nowadays, and also just playmaking and processing the defense. Like, you know, he's able to read the defense. If a double comes, he's gonna swing it to the right wing or the other side of the court or whatever. Like, those reads are much better. Like, Tatum, weirdly enough, despite him like being known as a scorer, like, he has arguably, I wouldn't say arguably the best, but like, he has like one of the highest floors for a star in the league because of how he's developed like the other parts of his game. Like, Tatum, even when he is going like, which we saw in these playoffs, when he is going like 8 of 23, he can affect the game in so many other different areas, in terms of rebounding, in terms of his defense, in terms of still shifting the defense on the offensive end and playmaking. When you compare that to the other stars in the league, there's not many players that can say that when they have those off nights. You know what I'm saying?
And not many. Yeah,
not many. So
I think he has the case to probably be the most versatile player. And honestly, I think the biggest problem, Bsolz, is people are viewing Tatum as a wing, which he is. But I feel like if you look at him as a power forward, his game makes way more sense, right? Like, this 6'10" guy who can guard guards in spots. He's going to rebound the ball, who has an all-around game. I think that is what unlocked the secret for Boston. Because, again, if you go team by team, right, every team, if you look at their 4 spot, there's versatility, right? Draymond Green, right? Pascal Siakam, Aaron Gordon last year, right? Like, these are bigs who can do a lot of versatile things defensively to really impact the game, and even offensively he can detonate. And Tatum is playing at that position where he just gives you a ton of offensive value, where he's running guard to guard pick and rolls, right? He's running side pick and rolls, and he can actually get to the free throw line better. When you put all of that together, that is what elevates his overall floor game. And he's making simple reads, which is great. Like, pass the ball, he did that. So I love that perspective overall for the team, but I do got to get to this, man. All right. I want to have a moment of silence for Al Horford. Shout out to bro. Okay.
Shout out to Big.
How does it feel to finally see Al Horford after all these damn playoff games? Came to Boston, left Boston, came back to Boston, finally win an NBA championship.
Bro, I remember when he first signed in free agency in 2016. I don't know if was Kemba Walker free agency signing, but long story short, like, up until that point, Al Horford was arguably the biggest free agency signing in Celtics history, and just him being the guy that took the chance on the team when Isaiah Thomas was there, like, really being the OG of the team. And finally getting that first ring in his, like, really long ass career, him leaving the team and coming back and taking all these pay cuts and just doing whatever's needed. You know what I'm saying? Like, but one of the biggest reasons as to why the Celtics didn't really feel the fall off of Kristaps Porzingis was because Al Horford stepped up and provided a lot of the value that Porzingis got in terms of being able to stretch the floor, in terms of, well, I think Al Horford even now is a little bit better on the switch than Kristaps Porzingis. You know what I'm saying? So
he was good with Luka.
Yeah,
in the finals.
1, oh my god,
game 1 was crazy.
Yeah, Al Horford on Luka game 1. I ain't gonna lie, like, clutch buckets too. He's able to pass a little bit. Like, Al Horford, he's provided a lot for this team. So just, being able to see him win one, when he was one of the few people that bought into this team all the way back before even, like, Tatum was on the team. That's dope. He's also bailed us out in, like, so many different moments. Like, it's
listen,
I know you remember game 1 against y'all, bro.
Listen. Game 1 versus the Warriors, but specifically, Bsolz, I swear to God, this is not hyperbole. The series versus Brooklyn, when y'all swept them, what Al was doing in that series was crap. Like, you almost got a triple double. Like, what am I watching right now?
I think he's had some really good moments against, like, Embiid too, Giannis.
He's
like,
labeled the Embiid stopper.
That's what I'm like, which is crazy. Yeah. Which is crazy for like who he is at this point in his career, dude. Like, nah. Shout out Al, man.
Yeah, and like I do feel like though at some point, like I'm really wondering what's gonna happen with the backup a big spot. I don't think Al's gonna retire. I think he's gonna play maybe 2 more seasons, but it's like I've never seen a player who's not like a star like extend their value to this point to where, okay, I can still be counted upon. Because front court wise, we said, okay, this is going to be interesting how this works with not having as much depth, but having like a very strong 6 to maybe 7 core. Like for you, what do you envision the Al Horford replacement being next season or even later down the line?
Next season, there is no replacement. That is still Big Al's spot.
Okay.
But moving forward, there's a couple guys that, depending on how they develop, may get that role. Jordan Walsh is one of them. Xavier Tillman is a guy as well. Yeah, those are the 2 main dudes. But yeah, nah. I think the big rotation right now is probably the biggest weakness of the team, especially because Kristaps is injury prone. So like when Kristaps went down, you know, we was running like O'Shea Brissett minutes at the 5. Like we even saw Tatum at the 5 for a little bit. Like, you know, that center rotation was looking sweet when Porzingis went down. But yeah, finding a switchable big that can shoot at like 40 to 43%, you know what I'm saying? You can give him the ball to for a bucket here and there is really hard. And I truly don't think there's, outside of Al, PJ Tucker, but I wouldn't even count him as like a switchable. I mean,
PJ kind of cooked now.
Yeah, he's cooked now. Like I'm literally looking at role players that do what Al does, and I'm genuinely having trouble thinking of. It's just hard. There's not really a lot of players like him that are specifically like role players. Like you'll find stars.
Exactly.
Yeah, as a role player, nah.
My next question with Boston is, as you said, right? Normally in this new CBA economy, if you're not getting better, you're getting worse. I don't think that's the case for the Celtics because, again, there's a lot of context with their team and how all of their players are in the right slots. But a lot of teams got better in the Eastern Conference. A lot of people are hyping up the Philadelphia 76ers, who signed Paul George, who my team couldn't trade for because the Clippers weren't serious, but whatever. Mm-hmm. How serious do you take their threat this upcoming season?
The 76ers? On a scale of 1 to 10, I would say 7 or 8. 7 or 8. Like I said earlier, I think the teams that the Celtics really need to watch out for are the teams with dominant bigs. And Embiid is one of them ones. Like, yo, Porzingis is cool, but yeah, Embiid is cooking Porzingis in a 7-game series. The only thing about the Sixers is injuries. You know, like injuries is always going to be a concern with that team. So even if we do match up against them, are they going to be healthy? But in terms of the makeup of that team, they're not being coached by Doc Rivers anymore. You know, they got a legit coach there with Nick Nurse. You know, in terms of the star power, they definitely got it. I love how Tyrese Maxey fits with Joel Embiid. Paul George, I think is gonna be really good in that wing position. I don't know if they're gonna play him as a second or third option, but you know, just another wing, switchable wing, 2-way wing that can create his own shot. That's never a bad thing, at least in my opinion. So, yeah, no, I think the Sixers are legit, to be honest with you. And like they're one of the teams that, that's why like I don't think the Celtics are gonna be like a dynasty for real. So,
are they the most serious threat to Boston in the East to you? Because there are teams, again, you got them, you got the Knicks, you got the Bucks maybe, but again, we talk about Doc Rivers. He's on that team now with Darvingham. That's kind of funny. Are they the biggest threat in the East, or do you think it's more so just Boston?
I would say Milwaukee and Philly is Jesus Christ is equal. They're equal to me.
Okay.
I think the only reason I don't have Philly above Milwaukee though is just the track record going up against Philly specifically. Like, we're always busting their ass. I ain't gonna lie. So, but nah, between Milwaukee and Philly, those are the two biggest threats to me because of the dominant big. The Knicks are cool. I think.
Oh, they're cool.
They're
okay,
cool.
okay,
They're
so
cool. You know, I think they're gonna. They may even have a better record than the Sixers or like the Bucks. But I just think in terms of a matchup perspective,
yeah,
I like our chances. I like our chances against the Knicks much more than.
I mean, you are the
Milwaukee
wing team.
Yeah. So.
Okay, so then hypothetically, if Boston is to make it out of the finals, last year for you, you felt like Denver was the matchup that you really didn't want to see. Is that still the case this upcoming season, or is it a different team in the West this year for you?
Depending on, I'm gonna stay consistent. Like if Denver is still looking good, I don't want to face a Jokic-led team. I ain't gonna lie. Like if they're still looking comp, I still don't want to face them. If the Lakers get it together, 7-game series going up against LeBron and AD in the paint, that's gonna be tough. But that's a little iffy because people aren't that high on the Lakers succeeding. But I would say, especially if Chet makes some sort of leap this next upcoming season, the Thunder are.
OKC's the team, man. I mean,
yeah.
I'm sorry. How do you trade Josh Giddey with no picks to pick up Alex Caruso and then you sign?
iHeart, bro.
Like how do you do both in the same offseason?
Yeah, no, the Thunder.
Tough.
Thunder are legit, and they're already ahead of the curve too. That's just crazy. Because I was expecting for them to make the leap that, like the Magic made last season. You know, they become like a legit playoff team. We see where they're headed in the future. But for them to jump
to the 1 seed,
56 wins, and honestly, like I don't even think they're like they choke against the Mavs. Like they just got outplayed by the Mavs. You know what I'm saying? Like no one really like maybe one specific person, one specific player, but like they just lost to a better team or just got outmatched. So.
I mean, when you have a player in PJ Watterson who shot 48% from 3 on 8 attempts in that series, when he had multiple games of 25 plus, I mean, hard to win those types of games. So for you, you still maintain Denver. I think OKC is a good name. I think for me, if you ask me, I think the biggest challenges would be OKC and honestly Minnesota. I just think like the size and like the length of their guys pose problems. They still have some offensive problems down the stretch, but I think that's really matchup dependent in the Western Conference. Like Dallas had the perfect 1-2 punch to counter them because they didn't have like a strong POA. But I feel like for other teams, they match up a bit better. Boston versus Minnesota would be my dream NBA Finals matchup. I would love to watch that. Slow hoops, Anthony Edwards, who some people say is better than Tatum right now. I'm not there at all, but I would just love to watch that. That would be cool.
Yeah, the reason why I didn't name Minnesota or even like New York over in the East is just because if you're a perimeter-oriented team, like if your offense is revolving around like perimeter players, like the Celtics they just have the personnel to slow you down. Whether that's Drew, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, or even JT with his switch, like we just got the personnel, and that's why going into the finals, you know, I tried to be respectful with it, but in my head I'm like, this is the matchup I wanted. Yes. And I really didn't want to look into the regular season games too much, but I was like, yo, we're always cooking these Mavs. This is the matchup I want, man. This is the matchup I want.
I said coming in, right? Like in the regular season, they dominated the Mavericks. Now, there were games where, okay, X and Y is not playing. They're missing cool. But I felt like if you take away the lob threat and by the numbers again, guys, stats are cool. They're not everything. Watch the games, but stats give you a guide to the games, right? Boston specifically of any team succeeded at taking away corner threes. What was the bread and butter of Dallas's offense? Lobs and corner threes. When Tatum is helping you take away the lobs and you're not helping it, and you're inviting PJ to not take wide open threes, that's why OKC lost. but instead making them take above the break threes. That versatility is what won you the series. So I said coming in, okay, Luke is not healthy. I'm not quite sure about the health of Porzingis, so I had it going 7-ish. I really thought that it could have, and you guys just dominated them. I know for you that felt good. Like, we got the matchup. We're blowing them out in many, many, many of these games, and then you won the championship at home.
Yeah.
5 games.
Yeah. Great game. Great game. I see that on my time. Yo, I see that on my timeline like every 2 to 3 days, man. I always watch the end of it. So yeah,
we did it.
We did it. It was corny, man, but it's funny at this point, man. It's become like its own meme. Like, I love it, bro.
We did it. Yeah, I'm not mad at them at all. I mean, for some reason, a lot of people hate Boston, and I feel like it's just because Boston is thought of as a lot of things, so they just hate Boston. I kind of don't mind you guys winning because, again, you guys did it the right way. I mean, you literally fleeced every deal. Like, how the hell do you go from Robert Williams, who was a great player, injury prone, right? And then you flip that to Porzingis. You lose Marcus Smart, and you get Jrue Holiday, who is an improvement. What front office is close to Boston right now? Like, that's crazy to get both of those guys in the same offseason.
I would say OKC. Like, just we talked about how they're able to add Caruso and Ihart to an already like top team in the West record wise. Outside of that, I think those two are in their own tier right now, to be honest with you. I would like to put Denver there, but maybe it's an ownership thing, but they just keep on losing pieces every single year. You know,
I mean, dude, KCP and Bruce Brown back to back is so brutal for that team to me, man. Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah, I think right now the Celtics and the Thunder are in their own tier. I like what New York is doing though, for real. Like, I don't think they're a threat to the Celtics, but you know, them pulling off the moves they've been able to, getting Jalen Brunson to take a pay cut, that was controversial.
113 million Bsolz. Are you taking 113 million less? 113?
Yeah. Now, I was fighting on the timeline with that take, bro. I was fighting on the timeline with the take. My only thing is like, just to be quick on that, I understand you're taking $100 million pay cut. Well, we also need to give the context that you're taking $100 million, but you're still making $30 million a year. Like, that's how lucrative these contracts are. You know what I'm saying? So
agreed.
I don't think the Knicks are gonna win, but you know, Jalen Brunson should have the full confidence in his abilities to lead this team to a championship. And like, if Jalen Brunson ends up winning even just one in New York, I don't think, and you're making $30 million a year, I don't think Jalen Brunson is gonna be sleeping at night talking about, I should have just took the bag if he wins a championship. But
I mean, that, and also he's playing with his friends, and more than anything, for him doing this, that means in 3 years when he opts out, he can get a contract where he'll be making $80 million per.
Yeah,
which is kind of crazy. Like, that is a wild number for a NBA. $80 million per is insanity. But I think the flexibility is what makes them so interesting, because right now you say that, you know, like, okay, they're cool, but I do feel like the flexibility could evolve into something. I just don't know what it would take for you to generally be moved by the Knicks as a real contender, in your mind, at least.
For the Knicks, a Julius Randle leap? I don't know. They need that dominant. They need that dominant big, bro. I don't know. I'm just deadass. I'm just not scared of any team that's perimeter oriented, like the way the Knicks are. Like, we just defensively, we just have too many different pieces to throw. If that's your shtick, you got Jrue Holiday, D. White, Jaylen Brown, and Jayson Tatum.
We got that shit figured out, basically.
Yeah. So in terms of just weaknesses, I'm not afraid of it. But if Julius Randle turns into, I don't know, like prime Chris Webber or something, maybe, you know, we'll be talking different. But nah.
I mean, we've seen Bad Shot Randle, man. He has moments where it looks awful, but when he's making those shots, it's the most like painful experience because you just can't do much. But I mean, they're a team that also has their own fair share of injury concerns, paying OG $50 million per when he barely plays over 55 games. I mean, yeah, you guys are going to be in a good position. I feel like not having Porzingis at the start of the year could impact some things maybe, but I still feel like overall you guys have the best roster, and I think that's going to take you pretty far. Like, you guys now will have an entire year where we figured everything out during the regular season. We have 3 of our guys in Team USA, and we're coming back trying to go for 2. I think, like, of any team, you're probably the best team that has a real chance to two-peat since Golden State, in my mind at least. It takes a lot to get there. I know that you don't want to, say that outright, but I really feel like they got a shot, man.
No, they definitely really have a shot. They definitely have a shot. It's just the conversation around dynasty and like if you ask certain people, they don't even think like Miami with like the Heatles was a dynasty. Like even going repeat isn't necessarily a dynasty, but I also do think that like the reason why Tatum specifically has had his shooting woes the last two to 3 years is because of like the pressure on him. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like now that at least to him in his mind, specifically with how he's been talking, now that pressure is off of his back, I feel like Jayson Tatum playing more freely and less tense out there. Maybe that's all he needs to be more efficient and knock down these shots that I was talking about earlier, dude. So, and if he just becomes efficient, like same shot diet and all. Like imagine, I think last season they averaged what, like 28 points.
I believe it was like 28 points, yeah.
Yeah, on 48-38. If he just literally becomes more efficient, exact same amount of shots, we're looking at, let's just say he goes up to 50, 39, 88. Like if he averages that efficiency, averages 31, 32 points a game. Maybe that's too big of a volume leap, but 30 points a game. We're looking at 8 to 9 rebounds. We're looking at 6 assists. You probably have one of the best records in the league again. I understand you didn't even ask me this, but I like next season, maybe Jayson Tatum's best shot at an MVP. I was going listen.
That was gonna be my next question. Do you believe in Jayson Tatum being a legitimate MVP candidate, as in like top 3? If he can accomplish that, I think he got it, because voters respect it when a player wins a title first. So the fact that he has a title, he's been like fringe top 6 or top 5 for like maybe 2 or 3 seasons now. If he's able to get to that point, then he has a chance. I do feel like the biggest claim he has, though, Bsolz, has to be at the beginning of the season. Because, again, with no Porzingis, Brown and Tatum's roles are going to have to go up. So I'm expecting to, like, outburst in productivity, especially coming off Team USA as well. I expect him to have a much more improved overall season. I think he can do that.
I think his case would be similar to SGA's last season. Like,
okay.
Like, I think SGA had like really good efficiency, put up what 36 and 5, something like that, 2 steals.
Every other game he had 31 points. It was insane to watch.
Yeah. Like I think that would be Tatum's case, and SGA came second last season. The thing that I think will always hold Tatum back in the MVP conversations is just like per counting numbers. I ain't gonna lie. Like Jokic, year in and year out, averaging like 25, 12, and 8 on like insane true shooting percentage, like, and they're winning, like,
and they're winning games.
And then Embiid's now averaging 30, 33, 34.
He was legitimately averaging more points than minutes. Yeah, like
and then Luka like 34, like 9 and 8. Like, damn, bro. So I feel like the winning part would be the biggest part of his case. But again, if they have a similar disparity winning wise last season, this upcoming season, and his numbers get better, and maybe like the moments too, because I don't think like Tatum had enough like notable moments. I think that's a part of the MVP conversation too, low key. I think this next upcoming season will probably be his best chance.
Okay, so we talk about Tatum. It's time to ask a Celtics fan how they feel about Jaylen Brown being snubbed off Team USA. Or do you think he was fairly not chosen? What do you think? I'm curious about that.
I personally think he got snubbed, man. I ain't gonna lie. He got snubbed. Because Kawhi, at least from my perspective, and if you disagree, I would love to hear it. Like, Kawhi is a two-way wing with length coming off the bench. I'm assuming. They lose him. I would assume if you're trying to replace that role, Jaylen Brown would be the closest thing to it, as opposed to Derek White, compared to everyone else. Paolo was a name that was thrown around as well, but if that's what you're looking for off the bench, which I do think, looking at their personnel, they're kind of missing, is like two-way length off the bench. You bring in Jaylen Brown, but bringing in Derek White, which I think he had like a clutch play, couple, like he's been productive for the team, so it's not like he's not doing anything. But yeah, bringing in Derek White when you already have Drew Holiday, when you don't need more playmaking off the bench, when you don't need more shooting, and you definitely don't need more bigs. Again, I just feel like the no-brainer was to bring in a wing, like a scoring two-way wing. I don't know.
All right, so here's my take on this, man. I've been documented in how I feel about Jaylen Brown as a player. I first want to acknowledge he had a hell of a season. Again, I watched the games closely post All-Star break. Post All-Star break, the leap he took was insane. I feel like he should have made a All-NBA team. Like, I would have took him over Devin Booker. I'm fine to say that. But specifically in terms of Team USA, he should have been, like, it was a big robbery to me, because how do you, in good faith, say, okay, we're missing Kawhi Leonard. He's gone. We need a star. We don't have the length. Let's call up Derek White on the team that just won the title, where the finals MVP is not on Team USA. And by the way, Jaylen Brown is actually in the pipeline for Team USA as well, and he still didn't get picked. Now, I saw Jaylen Brown say, at Nike, are we serious? And the Nike conspiracy thing is an interesting angle, because, I mean, he did say back when the Kyrie stuff was going on, when have we ever known Nike to be about ethics? I don't know how deep entrenched they are, but it just feels so off. Like, how do you go Derek White before Jaylen Brown, especially after what we saw Jaylen Brown do all season, especially in the finals? I don't get it.
Yeah, from a basketball, I saw Rusty say on the timeline, like, this isn't the team that needs more stars. They need more role players. So that's the angle. You know what I'm saying? Like, being like a fourth, fifth option, Derek White has, you know, or like just a role player. Like, Derek White has better experience being a role player than Jaylen Brown. But, nah, I ain't buying that, man.
I disagree with that. And the main reason why is Jaylen Brown played on a team this season where he had a bunch of star caliber players around him. It took him time, right? But we saw him adjust in real time and fit perfectly. And more than anything, this is Team USA. We just lost last year in FIBA. A big part of why the team looks the way it looks now is they made the call. We're not playing around, right? And to me, Jaylen Brown is one of the few guys where his motor defensively is going to be there, and downhill in terms of his athleticism, we need that. So to sub that out for Derek White, who I mean no disrespect when I say this, but it's kind of true to me. He's kind of like a Drew Holiday variant. Yeah, it's like
doubling up.
Why would you? Yeah, like that's cool, but I don't think Derek White's even gonna get that many minutes. And even if that was Jaylen Brown just gives you a lot more versatility. I would have went with that, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I think he got snubbed, man. I do think if there was a reason, I think Grant Hill posted something on some, hey, man, this is just for pure basketball. Like, nah. I truly do think it's a Nike thing.
Yeah,
I truly do think it's a Nike. Because Kyrie got, well, depends on if you think he should have made it, but, like, Kyrie wasn't even, like, in these conversations at all. And people are conspiracizing it's for the same reason. It's because of the Nike thing.
I think so, because Kyrie had a lot of things go down where he lost his contract with them as well. He had a great year with no things happening off the floor, but I just think that they didn't want the press to be asking questions while he's overseas. So I guess I get it from that standpoint. But even then, Kyrie has proven to be a Team USA hooper. He plays well on Team USA. Like, he understands what it takes. And more importantly, you have guys in the pipeline. To me, to violate that, to go pick up Derek White, who, you know, yeah, sure, he's more used to being a role player. I just feel like Jaylen Brown gives you a bit more skills in the areas that you need, especially losing a player like Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, no.
But, you know, But yeah, since we're speaking about snubs, I want to ask you this too. Joe Mazzulla, I think he had a good year. He did not win Coach of the Year. A lot of people were asking for him to be fired last year, and we literally said, guys, it's his first year coaching. Relax, let him get the reins, see what he does. I think Joe Mazzulla was an absolute madman. The numbers, everything he said about what Dallas likes to do, the way that he dissected their entire game plan, he showed why he can be a good coach in the league beyond having talent. And the timeouts, right? The timeout Joe shit, right? He was calling timeouts all postseason long. For you, did your feelings change about Joe Mazzulla at all?
Oh, absolutely. I was I want him to be fired after we went down 0-3 against Miami, dog. I was like, nah, because I was on the similar to how Lakers fans feel about Darvin Ham. Like, yo, you may be a good coach, but for a championship caliber team trying to win right now, they kind of hold you in this position, but you're just not that guy, you know,
right?
At least for this team. But second year, I mean, he proved me wrong. He made the adjustments. Lineup management was good to great. The timeout thing as well, not a problem anymore. I think all he needed was just an off season where, you know, he was able to bring in his own assistant coaches as well, have more prep time, the organization of everything. And he delivered. He delivered, like his philosophy as well of, you know, shooting the 3-ball, proved everyone wrong there, you know. So it's proved like the way he utilized Porzingis as well.
Beautiful how he used him for sure. Yeah,
so you know, I don't care about Ime anymore, man. Ime, you good.
I forgot all about Ime Gabe because I remember there were a bunch of Celtics fans like, yo, fire him and get Ime right back. Like,
yeah, nah. He was weird to me at first, just like his demeanor and the way that he's like, he's an awkward dude. Like Celtics fan of, Joe Mazzulla is an awkward dude, but yeah, no, he's a madman, man.
I think that his genius in that was that he was so focused on the numbers that it made sense. Because again, right, if you're forcing Dallas into tougher twos, right, you're taking away corner threes. So now you have these role players in, you know, Derrick Jones and PJ, right, having to shoot hash threes and not corner threes, which aren't high percentage shots, and you're shooting more threes. And they like Boston shot ain't gonna be so, because this is crazy to me, right? Boston shot more catch and shoot threes than Dallas shot threes in the series.
Nah, that's crazy.
Just catch and shoot, right? But that's why the numbers to me do matter. It's just I feel like he had a much better blend of, okay, the numbers game and also understanding the flow of the game, right? Calling timeouts early. Y'all was up 30, and I think either game 1 or game 3. Sorry, not game 3, game 2. And he literally called a timeout. I'm like, okay, no, he's locked in on the rhythm and the preparation. Like he was good.
Yeah, no. And I also think he became a better like locker room coach in terms of like his leadership and earning the trust of his players. Because I believe there were some comments in his first year about how, like, you know, they still miss Ime and all of these different things. But I do think, and this is credit to the players as well, like they've really bought in to Joe Mazzulla's philosophy. And, you know, I think Joe said it even in the Eastern Conference Finals, like the biggest gift a coach could have is just players that allow them to be coached. You know what I'm saying? So
yeah,
you know, so I don't know. I'm very happy with the Coach Mazzulla progression this last season, man.
A lot of growth, man. A lot of growth in many different areas for the Boston Celtics. So, yeah, man, I can't wait to watch this team play basketball next year because, again, I do think you're 100% right. The pressure being off these guys, again, when you win a title, the pressure to win goes out the window. So now you can just play at a much freer level. So I do think that's going to impact a lot of things for this roster moving forward. And again, year 2 Boston, once everyone gets healthy again, to me, is a threat to go all the way there. So I can't wait to watch it. I do want to ask you a couple more questions as a content creator, right? What do you think about inside the NBA going and us being like officially underneath Amazon now?
Well, I think for diehards, ultimately it doesn't matter. Like we're gonna watch the games regardless. Like TNT, Amazon, I don't know, TLC, wherever it is, we are going to be watching it. You know what I'm saying? But it's weird because people's talking about like nostalgia, but that's why everyone's excited about NBC too, is because before ABC, before TNT, they were like all those Jordan years, it was under NBC. So that's gonna be exciting. Amazon getting it though over TNT. I'm gonna miss Inside the NBA, but I also think a problem that the NBA has just had is, and this goes with like a lot of industries too outside of the NBA, is just holding on to like old IPs, holding on to old IPs, holding on to old names. Like I think it's a problem that when you look at the top 10 most popular players in the NBA, that LeBron and Steph is like still head and shoulders above everyone. I don't like that's a problem to me. So even if it's small things like, okay, let's just switch up the vibe, let's switch up the aesthetic from TNT to Amazon. I'm a little scary on how that presentation is gonna look and who they like slot in there in terms of who's analyzing the games and all of these different things, but I'm welcoming the change. I think, you know, this last year, specifically with the guys, with the teams that made the conference finals, we are seeing like a turn from the older generation to the younger generation. So I think it's a time that like this younger generation gets their own like aesthetic essentially. So
yeah, I can agree. I kept saying like I stopped watching major publications talk about basketball because we're not hyping up any of the good teams. I said last year Shai should be getting more credit. He's a pretty good player, and then he goes this year, has an MVP caliber season, and now it's like, well, where's the marketing for Shai now, right? Anthony Edwards is also a year late behind. I feel like these players needed more room to actually grow, and I don't feel like we're putting them in the right position to get that off. In terms of inside the NBA, I got to be honest, it sucks seeing them go, but they wasn't really watching the games like that. We watched them for entertainment, right? And that was cool, right? But at the same time, I got to be honest, as a boys super fan, I love the boys, right? Like I'm Amazon gang all the way. Being able to just go on Amazon Prime and watch the games, I promise you, is much easier than finding some of these primetime AT&T games, because I don't have cable. I don't. I just be rocking in and out. You know what I'm saying? Overall, shout out to Playback. But I just be making my way through things. So I do think that this is a cool opportunity. But hey, man, I'm excited. I think next year is going to be a very good basketball product, regardless if you guys win or lose. I'm excited for Boston Celtics basketball. So is there anything else you want to add to the podcast as we get up out of here?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Second of all, as far as the Celtics, man, told you so, man. God, we were gonna get one. We were gonna get one, man. God, all
you gotta do is get one.
Yeah. All
you gotta do is get one.
Yeah, man. And it's recent. You know, I do think, like, in the grand scheme of things, boy, just thank God the Celtics got it this year specifically, man. Because nah, bro, because
really, okay,
everyone charging up the way they charging up. Wemby looking like, yo, if they
like
don't,
a god out there,
yeah, Wemby looking like a god out there. Like even the Thunder, like, bro, J-Dub and Chat are only in their first 2 years in the league. Like, nah, there's a lot of talent in this league, and I feel like if the Celtics didn't cash in these next 2 to 3 years, the question of if they build around the wrong players would have been, yeah, I think they built around the wrong players, or at least went about it the wrong way. So,
hey, man, I hear that. Big shout out to Bsolz and all the other Celtics fans. If you made it this far, appreciate you guys for making it this far. Like the video, all that stuff. This podcast thing is going to be interesting because, again, I've been mad busy. Like, I've had a lot of real life things going on, but I'm locking back in, going through all 30 teams. So had to have you back because again, if you go back, our podcast was spot on at everything Boston needed to do to win, and they did everything. Brown, it did it. So Porzingis
what
added his
Porzingis
value.
Provided too, yeah, everything.
The numbers game and all that. So yeah, but yeah, so I appreciate you. I will be catching you guys in the next podcast for more updates on teams. As always, peace out. Y'all have a good one.